If you have ever thought that you just want to try riding your bike again, but you have no idea where to start, you don't know if you want to ride indoors or outdoors, maybe you just heard me on the Gold Digger podcast and you're thinking, okay, maybe I could try it. Maybe I could try riding my bike. I want to have fun, but I just don't know where to start. Well, I am so glad you are here because that's what we're talking about today on the Viking Wellness Podcast. Welcome to the Viking Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Smith, and I lost 50 pounds riding my bike by focusing on what my body can do. Now, I teach other women how to do the same. I am obsessed with completely flipping the script on weight loss so that we can work out to feel good and feel strong. If you are ready to stop dieting, learn how to appreciate your body, and have fun riding your bike, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, my wonderful friend. Welcome back to the podcast. And if you are just joining us for the very first time, I want to send an extra special warm welcome to you. I am so glad that you found us, and I am so excited to welcome you right here into the Viking Wellness community. So today we are going to talk all about how to get started with biking. This is a beginner's guide to biking where I am going to tell you everything you need and everything you don't need in order to get started riding your bike today. I know that sometimes it can feel really daunting, especially if, like me, you had not ridden your bike since you crashed it when you were 10 years old. And that was the last time that I actually was regularly riding my bike before I rediscovered the joy and the fun that goes into bikes and bike riding all over again. Now I ride indoors, I ride outdoors, I have a Peloton, I have an indoor trainer, I have a couple of different outdoor bikes, but it did not start that way. In fact, I had a lot of kind of short, brief starts and setbacks where I would get a bike and I'd ride it a couple of times and then decide I didn't like it and forget all about it. And I don't want that to happen to you. So I'm really excited to just dive in and talk to you all about how to ride a bike. But before I do that, I want to just let you know that I have a completely free lose weight biking quick start guide so that you can just download it and get started with your biking weight loss today. You can find it at www.sassy.com/guide. That's www.sassy.com/guide. And it'll be delivered right to your inbox and you can get started because that's what it's all about. It's all about starting. We want to have fun and we just want to start. We just want to start riding our bikes. We just want to start thinking about being strong and being healthy and wanting to be around for our family, for our children, for our grandkids, for a really long time. We really keep it positive in this community, and we are always looking for the quickest way to get from point A to point B, and point A to point B meaning getting ourselves on our bikes. Because let's face it, we are busy and we can get very easily overwhelmed with all of the decisions that go into buying a bike, go into finding time to ride bikes. And we're going to make that whole process as simple as possible. We're going to strip away the overwhelm and talk about how to start biking without overthinking it. We're going to talk about what you actually need, what you definitely don't, and how to make your first rides fun, safe, and confidence boosting. Every single time you get on your bike, you are building momentum. You are building confidence. You are learning how to really believe that this is something that you can do. So let's go ahead and jump right in. First thing I want to talk about is how you approach riding your bike. It does not need to be perfect. You don't need fancy gear. You don't need fancy bike. You don't need to have a training plan or anything like that. Just think about your very first ride as I'm exploring this idea. I heard Stacy talk about it on a podcast and I thought about, oh my gosh, I have this exercise bike in the basement that's gathering dust. My Peloton has become a coat hanger. Or I have a hybrid bike that's in the garage from when we all bought family bikes together and now nobody uses them anymore. So the simplest thing to do is keep it as easy as possible. If you have a bike, start right there. Okay. I know that it took me a little bit of start and stop, as I mentioned to you. I bought a mountain bike as my first adult bike. And I'll just be honest, that was a tremendous mistake. You should not buy a mountain bike unless you actually plan on going mountain biking. Mountain bikes on roads are incredibly slow. They're very heavy and they're just kind of hard to get going. So things like that are helpful and useful, but don't overthink it. If all you have is a mountain bike, just keep your ride short. And you're just going to go around the neighborhood and you're going to ride for about 5 minutes and maybe you increase it to 6. Maybe you increase it to 7. The simplest bike or the best bike is really just the bike that you have or a bike that you can borrow. Honestly, the most important thing when you go and look for a bike is to make sure that it fits you. That is the great thing about indoor bikes is that you can always adjust them and you can usually get them to a place where they fit well enough. My Peloton, for example, does not fit perfectly. I don't think it ever will. I'm fully convinced they made them for much larger people. And when I say larger, I mean taller people than me. I'm only 5'2", but I can get it close enough where it feels good. So indoor bikes are adjustable. Outdoor bikes really should be the right height. And if you are unsure of what to get or what to do, go to your local bike shop. Almost every community has a bike shop where they will help you find the bike that fits you best in terms of your needs. So if you need to buy a bike, then by all means, go to a local bike shop. And my suggestion to you is if you are shopping, look for a hybrid bike, look for a comfort bike, look for a cruiser, look for something that you feel comfortable riding. You know, my first grown-up bike after the mountain bike, which I abandoned, I know I gave it away to a friend because she likes mountain biking and I don't. My first, I'm going to do this bike was a hybrid bike. It was a Trek FX2 hybrid bike. It was pretty heavy. It certainly wasn't light or anything like that. But I wanted that personally over a cruiser bike, you know, those bikes that have the basket on the front and the nice comfy seat, just because I felt like I actually could go a little faster. Try out a couple of bikes if you can. Indoor bikes, like I said, are great as well, especially if you're a little bit concerned about balance. I am not great at balancing a bike. I have fallen off my bike so many times, and I don't say that to scare you. I say that to say, oh my gosh, I didn't start riding regularly till I was almost in my 40s. And even though, you know, I've been kind of falling off my bike for the past 7-8 years or so, I am still okay. But if you don't want to do that and you don't want to think about that at all, then by all means, just get yourself an indoor bike. They're great for anyone who's not really ready to ride outdoors yet. I absolutely love and adore my Peloton bike, but you don't need a Peloton. You can actually get any indoor bike. You can even do Peloton rides on any indoor bike with the Peloton app. Really fun fact. A lot of people think they need a Peloton bike and need to invest, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars in the bike. You really don't. You can use just about any indoor bike and get the Peloton app and use that. I do not, however, suggest using an indoor trainer for Peloton rides. I tried doing that and I got so excited that I was in too high of a gear and I ended up injuring my hip. So if you're going to do some Peloton rides on a non-Peloton bike, make it just a typical indoor spin bike, if that makes any sense at all. And by the way, if you have any questions as I'm going through this episode, if I say anything that doesn't make sense to you, please shoot me an email at stacy@sassy.com. That's STACY at sassy, SASCY.com. Just send me an email. I would be more than happy to answer any of your new bike questions. The idea is that it's totally fine to start inside if you want to build up your confidence before you go out on the road. It's totally fine if you want to stay inside forever. There is no rule that you have to ride outside in order to enjoy riding bikes. I have a lot of friends who only ride on the Peloton. So anything just goes. So in terms of getting a bike, simple is best. If you have one, use that. You don't have to go out and buy a new one. You just want to make sure that the bike fits you. Okay, so gear basics. Here's what you need, and you really need, and what you really don't. First of all, you must have a helmet. Safety first. Helmets are so important. And anytime you fall and hit your head, you need to get a new one. A lot of helmet companies will replace them for free, but make sure it's just like a car seat. If you're in a car accident, you need to get a new car seat. If you're in a crash, you need to get a new helmet. Don't mean to scare you right away. I've only crashed once and needed to get a new helmet, so that's not too bad over the course of 7 or 8 years. You also really should invest in a nice pair of padded bike shorts. Now, nice does not mean expensive. I will link some really straightforward gear. I'll link some straightforward gear in general in the show notes, but padded bike shorts, my favorite ones are Pearl Izumi or Terry, especially for those of you getting started. I think they just have the best chamois, which is the padding that's inside, especially for kind of newer riders who are going on relatively short rides to start. You don't have to go crazy with the padded bike shorts. They don't need to be expensive. You should have a water bottle and a cage for your water bottle on your bike. You should also have a comfortable bike seat. Don't go crazy with this one either. Do not think that you need a whole bunch of padding. I promise you, you want the padded bike shorts, not the padded seat. I know it sounds crazy. I know it seems like you would want padded everything to protect your bum because it does get sore during those first couple weeks of riding anyway. But if you have padded bike shorts, it's going to make almost any seat, for the most part, at least manageable for the time being. Also, honestly, I've got to say, if you have a helmet, if you have a bike, if you have some padded bike shorts, if you have some water with you, you're good to go. If you're only going to ride for 5 minutes, you don't even need the water, okay? Just hydrate beforehand. You don't need to have like super fancy cycling gear. You don't need a carbon road bike to get started. You don't need a fancy matching cycling kit to get started. You just need to have a bike. You don't need clip-in pedals. In fact, I often will encourage people to start riding without clip-in pedals, the pedals where you're clipped in. They call them clipless. It's confusing, I know. But you don't need those to start. Just do what is easiest. Just do what makes the most sense. If you want all of that additional stuff, that's fine, but it's really not necessary to start. Like for example, I lost 50 pounds riding my bike during COVID when most of my riding was on a hybrid bike, riding around the neighborhood with my then 5-year-old son. You don't need to ride your bike a lot. You don't need to ride constantly in order to lose weight. I would also ride on my indoor trainer and have him watch Go Noodles at the same time. If you don't know what Go Noodle is, bless you, you don't want to. but that's what worked for me. There are ways to get on your bike and to make it simple and make it easy and still make progress towards either your strong body goals or your weight loss goals. Now, the next thing that you're going to be wondering is, okay, well, where do I ride? If your neighborhood is relatively low traffic and safe, just ride around the block. Just ride around your neighborhood. I did so many neighborhood rides when my son was younger, and there is nothing wrong with that. You don't need to plan out this super long route, especially when you're starting. So pick somewhere that is safe. Bike paths are amazing when you are first starting out. They're just really nice. You can also do some trail rides. If you have a hybrid bike, especially, those are really good on, well-maintained dirt trails too. Dirt trails are not necessarily mountain biking. Mountain biking, kind of think going through the woods. Dirt trails are just like oftentimes rail trails. They're almost like unpaved bike paths. And those are really great for a hybrid bike. So that's something that you can think about and look into. Now, you got your location, you have your idea of what you're doing. You do want to check your bike and make sure that it's in good enough condition to ride. I do suggest bringing your bike to a bike shop for a tune-up if you can before you start riding. You also want to check the tire pressure, make sure that there's enough air in your tires to ride. And then again, check the seat height and just make sure that your seat's at the right height for you as well. Keep your first few rides really short, really sweet. Aim for maybe 15 to 20 minutes a ride. You don't want to go crazy. Even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, that's great, because you just, again, want to get in the habit of riding your bike more regularly. And you might be tempted to ride really, really far on your first ride, but you might end up being really, really sore. So please listen to me. I'm giving you some of the best advice ever. Just focus on how it feels, and if you're feeling okay, sure, go a little bit further. But if you're starting to feel a little bit sore, you want to just head home, because then you're going to feel motivated to get on the bike again, if that makes any sense at all. I think you know what I'm talking about. I think we've all done those workouts where we were thinking, oh my gosh, that was just a little bit too much. I probably should dial it back next time. And then sometimes there isn't a next time because we spend too much time off the bike. So that actually brings me to my next point, which is that all movement counts. And you'll hear this refrain from me often. It doesn't need to be a bike ride. If you want to just go out and walk, that's totally fine. If it's a short bike ride, that's totally fine. If it's an indoor bike ride, that is totally fine. Indoor riding and outdoor riding is different. It feels different. Sometimes riding indoors can actually be a harder workout than riding outdoors, especially if you normally ride outdoors where it's really flat. But if you're going up and down hills a lot outdoors, that's going to be a harder ride than if it's flat. If you are going up and down hills a lot or increasing resistance a lot on your bike, on an indoor bike, on a Peloton bike, on a spin bike, that's going to be a pretty hard workout. So please don't get so fixated on thinking that you need to have a really long, really hard ride in order for it to count. All movement counts. All movement keeps you in the habit of moving your body. And please, let's not forget, it is supposed to be fun. You are supposed to be having a good time. So if it's not fun, you're not going to keep doing it. And you want to move to feel good. You want to move to feel strong. So even short casual rides are going to count towards your movement goals. And you just want to be easy. You want to be gentle with yourself. You just want to get in the habit of moving regularly and, most importantly, having fun. Mix in other stuff, mix in walks, mix in stretches, mix in, oh my goodness, the strength training. Strength training for women, especially as we get to be of a certain age, is so very important. You just want to make sure that you are moving and moving regularly in any kind of way, even if biking isn't 100% your thing just yet. I really, really hope that this episode inspires you to get back on the bike, both literally and figuratively. Just really quickly, let's recap. The first one is to keep in mind that this doesn't have to be perfect. It's just supposed to be simple and easy. All you want to do is get on your bike and get out there, or get on your bike in the basement, on your indoor trainer, on your spin bike, on your Peloton. You just want to get started. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need the perfect gear. You don't need the perfect bike. The simplest bike, the easiest bike is the one that you already have. You just want to make sure that it fits you and that it fits the type of riding that you are trying to do ideally. Like I said, a mountain bike on the road, you're probably going to have a bad time. So just kind of keep that in mind. And if you're unsure of what kind of bike that you need, oh my gosh, send me a message. DM me on Instagram at Sassy Cycling. That's SASCY Cycling. I would love to help you. It is literally one of my favorite things ever to help people figure out how to get on their bikes. So choose your bike. Simple bike is best. Basic gear. You really need a helmet. You really need some padded bike shorts, more likely than not, and a water bottle if you're going a distance. I will also say bike lights if you're outside, visible clothing if you have it, but it doesn't have to be a perfect matching cycling kit. I don't think any of my cycling clothes match, to be honest with you. It's just whatever you've got, don't overcomplicate that. You just want to get started and go out for simple rides. You want to get started safely on a bike path in your neighborhood. If you have to drive somewhere with your bike, go ahead and do it. That's totally fine. Don't feel like you have to ride your bike right out your front door. And if you can't do it. Or of course, you can always ride inside and pick an indoor riding option. And then finally, just remember that every single ride counts. It doesn't matter how long it is. It doesn't matter how fast you're going. It doesn't matter if it's indoors or if it's outdoors. All that matters is that you ride to have fun and that you have a good time moving your body. And you can always sprinkle in different types of movement. In fact, I encourage you to, because moving really at the end of the day is what makes us feel good. It is what makes us feel strong. And when you move your body regularly, you want to take care of it. You want to live a long time, to be around for your kids and your grandkids and be able to keep up with them. Oh my goodness. Thank you again for joining me for this week's episode of the Biking Wellness Podcast. If you found me through Jenna's show, through the Goal Digger podcast, I'm so glad you're here. And just around here, we do movement a little bit differently. We move to have fun. We figure out ways to incorporate small bursts of movement into our daily lives. We keep it easy. We keep it simple. If we want to lose weight, we do it from a place of love and appreciation for everything our body can do. There's no rules. There's no pressure. There's just confidence. There's just strength. And there is just fun. If this episode gave you the little nudge you needed to start riding, I would love for you to share it with a friend who might need that same encouragement, who might also want to ride her bike too. And if not, like I said, that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be a bike ride. All you have to do is move, find the joy in movement, find the fun in everyday movement. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget to grab my free Lose Weight Biking Quick Start Guide. You can find that at www.sassy.com/guide. That's www.sasscy.com/guide. I'm so thrilled that you were here and that you joined us, and I can't wait to be with you again next week. Talk soon. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Biking Wellness Podcast. Be sure to head on over to sassy.com/guide, sasscy.com/guide, to get my completely free Lose Weight Biking Quick Start Guide so that you can get started with simple, doable weight loss today. That's sasscy.com/guide.